In the present video, I will be explaining how to make a histogram following the 2 to the power k guideline, and also how to construct a box and whisker plot in Excel. If you need to make a histogram using the 2 to the power k guideline, you will need to compute k by hand. Remember that for computing k, the number of classes, we can use this formula, the ln of the total number of data divided by ln of 2, and then round up this number, or just getting a k, the number of classes, such as 2 to the power k, will be greater or equal than n. And if you compute k, in this case that we have 25 data, k will be equal 5. So you know what is k first. Second, you will need to select all the data set, the whole data set. And after you select the whole data set, click on the Insert tab. After you click on the Insert tab, choose, in this chart group, choose Statistical, the one with the histogram here. Click on the arrow, and when you click on the arrow, choose the first option. The first option is histogram. So if you choose the histogram, Excel immediately make a histogram from the data set. But this histogram is choosing automatically the number of classes, the number of bins. This is different to the one that we compute using the 2 to the power k guideline. And the differences is that the number of bins is different. So we compute 5 and the number of bins here is 3. What to do? Double click in one of the bins. And when you double click, appears these options here. This is the format data series. And in this format data series appear several options. You can, for example, change the color of the histogram, or you can change the title of the chart, or there are other options that you can change. But we are interested in changing the number of classes. And the number of classes here are called bins, so the number of rectangles here. And if you see here beside bins, you can read auto. So it means that they automatically Excel choose this. So we don't want that happens. What we want to do is just change this or change the number of bins. So select or click here in one of the arrows, and when you click, select number of bins. The number of bins that we compute is 5. Yeah? So I'm going to change this by 5 and enter. This is now the result. This is something that is closer to our histogram that we make using the 2 to the power k guideline. We have 5 bins now. However, it's not exactly equal. Why? Because if you notice here, the first class go from 5,870 to 18,306.6. If you want to see a width of the class that is a whole number, you can change the width of the class as a whole number, rounding up the width of the class. How to do that? You can again go to bins, click in one of the arrows, and in one of the options you're going to see the bin width. So if you click here, you can choose the width of the class. Let's click here, and I notice that the width of the class that Excel is using is 12,489.6. You can round up this number. You can round up to 13,000, for example, or to 15,000. So let's round it to 15,000. And if you round it to 15,000, and then enter, just change the number by 15,000 is now the width of the class. Excel will be making a histogram with this number of classes and with the width that you have chosen. Now let's see how can we make a box and whisker plot. For making this box and whisker plot, just choose again all the data set and then again select the insert tab. Select the insert tab, choose statistical, and then choose the last of the option. And this is the box and whisker plot. And Excel immediately makes a box and whisker plot. You have the options here for changing the color again and change the chart title. But let's explain what Excel is displaying here. It's displaying a rectangle, that is what is called the box, and it's also displaying these two lines here that are called the whiskers of the diagram. There is a 1 point, additional 1 point, that is far from the center of the box. What is everything? The base of the box is as high as the quartile number 1 of the first quartile. This will be the base. So I notice here that the first quartile need to be around 17.5. And the top of the box is in the quartile number 3, in the third quartile. And this line here in the middle represents the median. So I noted that the median is here around 19. The third quartile is around 21. These whiskers go from the minimum of the number until Q1, until the first quartile. The other one, the other whisker, is from quartile 3 to the maximum of the data. However, these whiskers cannot be more than 1.5 the length between Q3 and Q1, so the height of this rectangle. So for that reason, there is 1 point here that corresponds to one number that is very far from the median. And this number is what we call an outlier. Here in the graph must be the minimum of the data set. And the minimum of the data set is this 10 here. You see that, this 10? So this 10 that we have here is too far from the median. And if you see it's more than 1.5, this distance here between Q1 and Q3 is called the interquartile range. So if there is a data that is farther than 1.5, the interquartile range, from the first quartile, we call it an outlier. Obviously, there could be an outlier here at the other side. And that happens when the data is more than 1.5, the interquartile range, from the quartile number 3. So these are the outliers. So here in this graph, there is only one outlier. That ends my explanation about the constructions of D2 charts. Thank you.